The late Euphoria of Alfie Kilgour's equaliser felt like a win, with all things considered, but as the games remaining fall numerically and player injuries equally so, we can't let Euphoria be a cover. Sorry. The same applies for performances too, but as pessimistic and as negative as that may sound, when you step back and evaluate, there's a point in that statement. Tonight we'll look at how the Clive-dubbed Kellen Gordon Injury Lounge is as busy as ever, how performance needs to improve, and how the next 6 to 8 weeks could look, and much more in between as old faces get ready to return home. As ever, we throw open the virtual doors to you for you to have your say on your team in the comments on the live feed. Why? Because Mansfield matters.
I think good. Podcast, the show.
Can anyone hear him?
No.
Oh well. Hello.
Welcome
Welcome to Mansfield
Hello, everybody.
podcast. Going.
It was fine earlier.
Cam hosting duties, but no one can hear him, and it looks like it's a little bit dodgy for me as well. I don't know what's going off, but Cam's got full control of this at the moment. We'll explain why in just a second. I can't now press end on this stream because I'm in charge. So what was happening was I'd got caught in traffic after work. I had what time I'd be back or what time I'd finish my food. I'd literally just finished. I rang Cam on the way back, hands-free and legal, and said, look, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it back on time. I know you've got the logins for it. Can you become the host tonight? And away. And I jump on just as the intro's starting because I managed to finish my food in time, and then no one can hear him. Is he back now? Can we hear him now?
I think I'm fixed.
Yeah, you now. Hey.
I'm now going to go downstairs, make a cup of tea like I was good. So Cam's in charge, ladies and gentlemen.
I do apologise about that. My technology decided to break on me. So, good start. Should we go back from square one?
Don't play the intro again. Right. You've done that.
Oh, no. I'm not doing the intro, don't I? Right then. You go and make a cup of tea and be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, all right. Just fade me out. You know what to do.
Brilliant.
I'll exit and come back.
I have the power. Bye, Craig.
Well faded.
I'm enjoying this. Right then, back to square one. Good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters podcast, the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield matters. I do apologise for the technical glitches. This is the first time I'll have hosted the show from where I live now, and the internet's still not great, and neither is Restream. Brilliant. So, 1-1 at Bradford on Saturday. We'll start with the not so good and the so good. Alan Wilson, give your thoughts on that one. Obviously, it wasn't a fantastic first half performance, but that second half really turned it around, and what a way to grab the point right at the end.
It certainly did. Good evening, Cam. Good evening, Clive. Good evening, everybody that's listening all around the world. Yes, I think it was a very good second half performance. I couldn't believe it after 34 minutes when we've got 3 men down. You know, I would say Oates looked the worst from what you could see. That one of Johnson's looked a bit innocuous, you know, with the groin, but we didn't really get a glimpse of what happened with Reedy. He said, from what Cloughie said, it was like a 50-50 challenge that, you know, wasn't malicious or anything. It was just one of those things. But my word, second half, we really played. Even the fullbacks, Barry, I thought, and aching. I thought they played rather well where they were playing because they tried to play more further forward, which they've got to do to obviously either rescue a point or get a full win. But I thought it was a really decent second half performance, and I thought there only one team in it, that looked like they're going to win it in the end. But what a player that Kilgour. I really do like that. I said 2 weeks ago when we first signed him, I said, he is captain material. Enough said.
So don't forget you can get involved in the chat. Just come say hi, really. Give us your thoughts on Bradford. And we're going to say good evening to Mr. Clive Parkin. Clive,
Good
give
evening,
us your thoughts
Cam.
on that
Good
one.
evening, Alan. Good evening,
I
everybody.
know there's the easy way, the hard way, and there's the Mansfield Town way. And Saturday really did show that one.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, three injuries, none of which were as a result of fouls. They were just freakish things. I mean, the worst was by far the one that's been self-inflicted for the second time this season, in my opinion. Oates has chased after something, he's got overstretched, he's ended up clattering into a player and coming off worst. And when he did his peck early in the season, it was as a result of him doing something rather silly. And I think that's probably something the lad up with. When he's desperate to get on the score sheet, he'll try too hard. And I think that's what he was trying to do on Saturday at Bradford. He's been fed scraps lately, and I understand why he must be getting frustrated. But having said that, we're going to have to manage without him now. I know Clough's mentioned a number of weeks. I suspect it might be the whole season, but we'll see. The other two, what a shame. We buy 4 players and 2 of them are already injured. We've been here before, haven't we? New acquisitions getting injured straight away. But Alfie Kilgour, I think you could drive over him in a fully laden transit van and he'd get up and smile.
God,
He's my new favourite, by the way. And I'm now over Faz Rawson.
Oh, right.
Oh, excellent news. That's fantastic. There does seem to be a lot of injuries going around at the moment. Richard in the comments, is this something to do with is it anything with the training pitch causing all these injuries? Arsenal had a lot of injury problems a few years back, turned back to something to do with the pitch. Now, there does seem to be a lot of players picking up injuries at the moment. Is it down to the pitch? Is it to the time of the year that it is? Obviously, the pitches are a lot harder, a little bit less forgiving when you do go down. Or have we just got really bad luck again?
I just, personally, in my opinion, I just think it's bad luck because I've seen the pictures down at RH and Mez and all the rest of the crew done a fantastic job getting them ready. I know they only use the 3G is it, or 4G pitches when they have to with the frost, etc. And we have had some of that bad weather just lately, but on the actual pitches themselves, they're second to none. They really are. I mean, they play proper matches on there, when it's behind the closed doors. So I can't see it being that personally. It's just unfortunate, whether, like Clive says, whether some of them are trying too hard. I mean, you saw Ollie Clark. He was trying too hard, and he sort of pulled something, when he first came back. And there might be something in that, but
I think there's something else as well.
Get on with it.
Sorry to talk over you, Alan. There's something else as well. I mean, the players we have now are supremely fit individual athletes. Their body mass index is incredibly low. They are trained to within an inch of their lives in terms of fitness, and yet they pick up injuries. Now, back in my day, players weren't half as fit as these lads are, but they didn't seem to get injured for very long. Everybody got clattered every now and again, but you dust yourself off and get back again. And in the absence of a broken bone, you were never out for very long. Now, I know the world's moved on a little bit now, but the pitches are so much better, the balls are so much lighter, and these footballers are fit as fleas. And yet, we're going people twanging and twerking all over the place. Are they too fit? Is what I'm saying. Do they need to be a bit fatter? Do we need a reading?
Well, there's out for me yet. Then I could be up then.
Just need a bit of something else to bounce off of players. But, obviously, it's very disappointing to lose 3 players in the way that we did. Obviously, we lost 2 against Doncaster, but going into Saturday, you're thinking, could it be any worse? And then half-time comes, and it is. We're excuse me. We're 1 goal down. We've used all 3 subs in the first half, but the only positive is the 3 subs that did come on during the first half all played fantastically. So we'll start with Clive. What do you think?
I think there's another positive, Cam. I think it forced Clough's hand into putting 2 subs on at half time, because he would only get one throw of the dice, and therefore he brought who came in at half time. It was
DJ and
Johnson and whoever.
DJ and Swanee went.
That's right. Well, it forced his hand, and as a result of what we then found ourselves with, there was a better game for Stags. We were much more involved as an attacking team, and you could argue on the basis of the second half performance, we were slightly unlucky not to take all 3 points. Having said that, the first half performance wasn't good, and I said to Craig towards the end of the game, I'd love a point out of this. And once we scored the goal, I said, well, I'll settle for that, because I think that was on balance about right.
Yeah, it was, and it was quite unlucky. And I think another positive I think we can take out of this whole situation is that Danny Johnson has come back, and obviously he said in the press on Monday, it's like he's never been gone. He's sort of straight back in with the lads. From Saturday's performance, you'd probably say that's quite true, because he got really involved. He was the Danny Johnson of old as such, and very nearly got himself on the score sheet, all bar a bit of fantastic defending. And when you've got players that have been out for so long, whether that's injured or loan or whatever, they've just this season, they've just seemed to have slot back in straight away and hit a reasonable bit of form when we needed to. We'll see at the weekend whether Johnson could carry it on, but I was very impressed with what I saw from Danny Johnson this season, on Saturday.
Sorry, lads.
While he's busy with his phone, I think Danny Johnson in his interview says all the right things, and I think he was fed fairly safe questions as well. And I'm sure he means most of what he says. And what he's now got to do is do the right things, which is to show us that he's as good as he once was. We never saw the best of him in his earlier stint with the club, I don't think. And all sorts of things created that situation. Injury to himself, and then the team picking up points without him, and not being able to force his way back in the side. And whilst there are loads of conspiracy theories about he'd fallen out with the club or the club had fallen out with him, none of that's ever been proved. And of course, he went away to another club and showed he could score goals. So I think what he wants to do now is to show he can score a dozen goals between now and the end of the season. And the only way he'll do that is if the club gives him a chance. But he said all the right things. His body language is so much better when we saw him than it could have been. I think, I took some comfort from seeing Clough put his arm around him, during the celebrations. There was some good vibes coming from the two of them, and I think that's got to be a positive thing. So, and we're going to need him now, aren't we? Let's be fair. So let's see if he's climbed up the pecking order.
The thing is, he's got nothing to lose now, has he? He's got 18 games left to prove himself, to put him either in the shop window for anybody else, or whether he signs a new contract with us, or what happens. If he can crack a few goals in, I don't think anybody will mind. And it's good news that Oates is only out for 6 weeks, where, there one or two people said that possibly out for the season.
Yeah, it is. It's frustrating, but should we hear from somebody that's always been very critical of Danny Johnson? He's been knocking on the door in the chat for the last few seconds, and now let's have him back. Craig Priest is with us.
Get him back.
Wait, hang on a minute. I've not been critical of Danny Johnson. I've been critical of the way that the club has handled the situation. Thank you very much. That's a slanderous statement to say in only your second stint as host.
Inaccurate journalism.
Correct. Can't get the intro right, and then a slanderous statement in my intro. I'm going to have to change this for next week. No, I'll give you an honest answer. I have heard the Danny Johnson interview, and to be fair, he handles it very well. But it's not Danny Johnson that should be sat facing the questions. It's not necessarily Nigel Clough to a degree either. It's those who hire, those who have handled the situations. I have to say, I think other questions should have been asked, but the questions weren't skirted around, and it's one of those things now where he is here for the season, and it's like we were saying a week ago that his opportunities would be limited. I still personally believe that his opportunities will be limited, even with Rhys Oates out, who, by the way, I have it on good authority, will be out for longer than 6 weeks. Whether or not that proved to be true or not will remain to be seen. However, on the Johnson situation, he's now got an opportunity to come and improve himself. But I still stick by my statement, which is that he will not replicate his form for Walsall because us and Walsall play two completely different styles of football. He'll come in, he'll do a job, he might score 5 or 6 goals, but will he get 15? I tell you what, if he gets 25 goals between now and the end of the season, Cam can have Series 7 of the podcast. That's how confident I am.
Oh, thanks. Brilliant. I think it did get out of my all, and this is how you repay me. Something that just
listen.
Just like
I'm a guest on tonight's show. I can be more controversial. I can stir shit up if I want. That's what I'm going to do.
Hey,
Cam, can I remind you, you've got the button.
I do. I could just get rid of him if I really wanted to, which
doesn't bother me. I just go back through there. You carry on. I've got other things I can do. I could not care less. Well, I can get on Twitter Spaces and do my own thing. It's fine.
To pick up on Craig's critique, the nobody involved in the Danny Johnson transfers, non-transfers, loans, etc., the whole saga, nobody's a winner. The player's not a winner. Mansfield Town's not a winner. In fact, Mansfield Town suffer more because of the poor reputational outcome of all this, in my opinion. And I agree with Craig. I don't think it's necessarily the football management that are to blame here. I think it's the administration and above. And certainly Walsall aren't a winner. They've every right to feel badly done by, in my opinion. So it's been a shambles, but it's done now. We are where we are. We've got a player who's contracted to us, wants to demonstrate he's as good as he thinks he is and has been in the past. I believe the club needs to give him an opportunity to show that.
He'll get it. I honestly think he'll get it. We obviously with Oates now missing, I don't think he'll be first choice. I think Clough will still put Swan, Akins ahead of him, possibly even Bowery at some points as well. But he will get his opportunities. He'll play probably a little bit more than a bit part now, considering Oates' injury. But I personally don't think he'll replicate the form. But that's not the issue, whether or not he replicates it, because it's the argument of who plays the style of football that suits him. The thing that it's about his commitment to the club, and he's got it. I know there were a few people trying to stir it on Twitter and on social media after Saturday because he didn't celebrate the goal. He gave the answer superbly. He was tying his laces. There was a few conspiracy theories flying about when he cleared the header off of the line. Very, very unlucky. But he came on. He ran around for 45 minutes. Probably took him 20 minutes to touch the ball. But you know what? He's here and he's playing for Mansfield now. He's an employee of the club, and what will be will be. I think I don't necessarily believe everything that was said in the interview. I think there is a little bit more to it. Pretty much the thing that got me was last season, the comments about last season, which were, I was out injured and sort of missing a few. Yeah, that was true at the start, but towards the back end of the campaign, when we needed a striker, he was fit and available and only got a chance at Scunthorpe away. But that was last year. That was then. This is now. Can he make an impact? Fingers crossed. I don't think it with the same impact he made at Walsall. Prove me wrong.
Keeley in the comments says DJ needs to show us what he's made of. I believe he wants to be here. His interview was positive, and he did clap the fans no matter what everybody else says. He did, and at half time, yes, he did. He come straight over. They did the very quick warm up and then went back inside, but he was very positive and applauded the fans and had a bit of a laugh about it, because I feel like the fans are very much in the dark about what happened, and I think what Craig said about the higher up is probably where the questions need to be lying, because it's quite clear that pre-Winder maybe Johnson didn't want to stay here, but then the options weren't right. Obviously rumours about him potentially going to Colchester. Obviously rumours will be rumours, but if that is right, and then what Clough said, saying there was a bid accepted but he didn't want to go there, it wasn't right for his family, for him, whatever, then he's just got to really knuckle down and be like, well, actually, you know what, I do want to be here. I do want to be scoring goals. And from what he said is quite positive. Another positive note from Saturday was, all right, all bar a few shaky moments in the first half, was that the defensive partnership between Kilgour and Hewitt throughout the match was quite impressive. Richard in the comments says Kilgour is a great signing, but right now Hewitt is playing absolutely brilliant. him and Kilgour can become the new Foster and Kenworthy. Right. Alan,
You're not going to. Well, hang on a minute. You're not going to add in the insult about you not knowing who they are. Are we skirting over that? Are we?
I was going to ask Alan and Clive. Can you explain?
No, you're not going to ask him me because I've got a shocking memory.
Quite easily, George Foster, in my opinion, was the best Mansfield Town player that ever put a shirt on. He reminds you a little bit of Kilgour because he would have run through a brick wall. He broke his nose countless times. He was just an absolutely superb player. And Kenworthy slotted in at the side of them. That he did. They're a good partnership. We've had quite a few in the of all the history of Mansfield Town, but from what I've seen, and I mean I've only been watching since '69, is as good as anything I've seen.
Fair enough.
I go back a little bit earlier than that. I think Kevin Bird in his day was an impressive player. He could be relied on as a defensive player, and he had an absolute dominance in his game. And he also bagged his fair share of goals.
Yeah. It was a leader, Clive, weren't he?
Yeah, and these guys weren't earning a lot of money in those days either. It's a different world, and it's no point in bemoaning what was before. I'd have loved to have seen someone of their standard being available to us now, but it's a different game, and I suppose you do need slightly different skill sets.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens on Saturday, because Nigel Clough has already hinted in his press conference this week that he's going to have to go to a back four. He sounded very reluctant about saying it because of Callum Johnson and Stephen McLaughlin both missing. I think, the left-back situation is fine. I think Wallace does a superb job there. He's an adequate stand-in. Naturally, Hewitt will move to right-back, but then it's who you put in at centre-back alongside Kilgour. I actually think that him and Riley Harbottle will make a...
Is Harbottle fit?
I believe so. I think he's just waiting for his opportunity.
Well, I'd rather have Harbottle in that back four now than our lovely old player, because if you're running with a back four, it needs to be strong but also quick, and I'm afraid he's neither now. And I love him to death, but I don't think he's actually right for us, apart from as a come on when required. Fabulous attitude and enormous amounts of experience, but you need a bit more than that now.
I mean, I'm going to put it out there as well. I think Kilgour and O'Toole would make a great partnership, but that's about as likely to happen as me checking my bank account and seeing these £2 million in there. Oh, no, wait. £6.99.
O'Toole's had his boots stolen, I think.
It's a strange one with John Joe, because he wasn't listed in the team. He doesn't appear to be injured. And the last we heard of him was that we'd had inquiries for him towards deadline day. Alan, what do you think of this? Because do you think a year back, and as fans on social media, we were tagging the club and tweeting them saying, sign O'Toole, sign O'Toole.
It was Mansfield's new messiah, wasn't he?
It was.
Not and then he was the man that everybody wanted. It proved everybody right when he played, but I was surprised that he didn't play the Tuesday night in the Not Senior Cup semi-final. Because
I think the reasoning behind that, Al, sorry to cut you off, mate, was deadline day, wasn't it? I think he was potentially expecting to move out.
Oh right, fair enough then, because there was perfect opportunity there, because Harbottle played a full 90. He did a few misplaced passes, but he looked to be reasonably fit because he did all the 90 minutes. But there was a young lad on there who came on. Is it Krasinski? I think his name is. That lad looks as though he's got something. It really does.
Have we still got the lad that we sent to Kettering? Was it Kettering?
George Cooper?
Yeah, he's still on loan there. He didn't play.
Get him.
Yeah, he didn't play because he's a quality. He will be a quality defender as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at how he's developed really well. I know they rate him really, really highly. I think there were a few conference national clubs sniffing after him as well for a period. Yeah.
But with the O'Toole situation, it might be another DJ situation. If he needs to play him, whether it be midfield or defence, the option's there.
I think O'Toole is on probably one of the best contracts at the club at the moment in terms of reward. and I wouldn't blame him for not wanting it to go somewhere else as a transfer if his salary can't be matched. He's got to believe towards the end of his career, and therefore he's got to bank as much as he can. And we had to work very hard to get his signature, if you remember. And part of that was a 2.5-year contract, and I'm guessing a fairly serious wage. I don't see too many teams at our level having that resource at the moment for an old player. I mean, so I think he's trapped by that a little bit. We don't know what's gone on between him and Clough, if anything at all. But he certainly didn't come back from his injury as well as he went into it.
No.
And I think that's true of 1 or 2 players, really. And my fear for Oates is exactly along those lines. So I think we have O'Toole on our books, but I can't understand why he's not in the squad, because you put in a goalkeeping coach on the bench instead of a player that is more likely to be a useful asset. I don't know.
It is a strange one. Obviously, we have got Adam Collin if required, but like you said, what's the point? I'm not saying that he's a wasted substitute spot, because football's a funny old game. It'd be our luck that we would need to change our goalkeeper if we didn't have one on the bench. It's just how our season seems to be going. It just seems we've got this bad luck. But does Saturday's game at home to Gillingham now give us the opportunity to not necessarily experiment with the side, but just change a few different things because we have to? Obviously, you've got Ollie Hawkins coming back, and with the way things are going at the minute, he's going to be playing up front, which then it changes your defensive options compared to what would usually be played. Say if we'd have played them earlier this season, it just changes a lot of things, and especially because we've got so many players injured or are quite clearly not part of the squad. Craig, we'll go to you for this one.
Saturday's game gives us a prime opportunity to sit there and think, why the bloody hell did we sell Ollie Hawkins? when we need striking options. I'm annoyed that we got rid of Hawkins. I still think we had another season in him. I think him and Kilgour will have a good tussle, but they don't use him as the main striking threat. They use him as a flick on man, as a hold up man to bring. Is it Nichols they've got there as well?
Yeah.
He's the one scoring the goals, isn't he?
He's scoring at the minute, but a lot of it's coming from Hawkins. I know Lapsley's not particularly playing for them. In terms of your question, Cam, about experimenting, I don't think we can experiment. I don't think he's got the luxury for that. Clough, I think, will go down the line of we've had to change to a back four because we've not got personnel available. We lacked something because we didn't have X player. And I think, I don't know, unless we get a positive result, I think there'll be a lot of excuse-based comments coming out after the game. I think we've got to get 3 points, but I also think that we need to be very wary against a side who are very clearly on the up at the moment. And I think, had they had a resurgence a month or so earlier, I think they would be a real contender, and they certainly will be next season. As to how we play and how we line up, Nigel Clough was asked, wasn't he, in his press conference this week?
Yeah.
What he'll do with no wing backs, and his answer was, we'll play a back four and then we'll see what happens. What sort of an answer is that?
Vague.
Sort of an answer?
It's Clough, it's vague.
It's a poor answer. It's a poor answer to give, and I don't know. And for me, it'd be interesting to see who comes in for Reed. I'd like to. I don't know. It's a tough one to play, but I'd personally like to see us go 4-3-3. And to answer the comment from Simon, finally a chance for Law. Is he still injured? Is he still out?
I'm going to say, because him or Gale weren't on the bench on the Tuesday night match, they were still injured, apparently.
I'll tell you what I think.
Sorry, Craig. They'd been training, but they weren't, suitable for the match, as it were. But that might have changed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Gale. I don't know whether he'll get too far close to the squad now with between now and the end of the season, but anything can happen. As for Law, I'm not sure, but I've just had a vision of what might happen on Saturday. Clough will go, yeah, well, we're definitely going to go with a back four, and then we'll see what happens in midfield. Are we all putting £1 on Akins and Bowery to be playing right wing back and left wing back?
I hope not.
Quids in, lads. Quids in.
I can see it happening, but I hope not.
I think he has so much trust in Akins. I mean, he believes in Akins. He's confident in Akins. He trusts him, and he'll want to squeeze him in the side somewhere. I actually think Akins on his day is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, he can easily slip out the frame as well. But he's competent in that position, but you don't play him in a back four, in my opinion. So if you're going to have a back four, I think the candidates are all there knocking on the door. We should be just saying, yeah, let's go for it. And I'm with Craig. Let's go shit or bust. Let's go 3-3 in front, because we've got three. Luckily, we have a bank of midfielders that can take per many three from them you like. And let's see what we're like with three up front. Even if it's 2 and 1 slightly behind, let's go for it.
And sorry, Clive, let's be honest as well. If we go 3 up front, that whole conversation about Johnson and me saying that we won't get the best out of him, we will if we go 4-3-3. I don't know whether you spoke about it earlier when I was making a cup of tea or not, but on Saturday when he came on, we went wide a lot of the time and he didn't really get too involved in the game. But there were 3 or 4 moments when we played through the middle, and you know what? I saw glimpses of what could be. And if we go 4-3-3, play Akins in the centre of that 3, which is where we should have been playing Ollie Hawkins if we'd have kept him, and play Johnson and Swan off of him, that is where we will yield a lot of success.
Craig, did you put your hands over your mic? You put your hands over your microphone there so we couldn't hear you, because if you did, it didn't work.
Yeah, it did. Like it says in the bordering, it did. Both him and Barry, I thought, played reasonable second half. And that's the quandary you've got, isn't it? Where do you play them when they've got, it all depends who he puts in the back four. If you've got Kilgour and Hewitt, who I think are shoo-ins, if you've got Wallace deputising at left back, although Mr. Page is still here and he's training on the grass, and we'll see what happens with him. Who do you put at right back? Do you put the chap from Forest at the side of Kilgour and put Hewitt at right back? Is that the way to go?
Yeah.
I was thinking more that.
Because I'm just thinking, because if he wants to put Perch in, if he's got to shoe him in, I'd sooner see him at right back than centre back. That I would. But that means Harbottle doesn't get in, and I'd like to see Harbottle in.
But Craig's point is valid, isn't it, Alan? That the place we should be playing Akins is where he can do the most damage, is up front.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Being a big receiver, he's good at taking some disappointing balls and making something out of them. And then you want a couple of whippets at the side of him.
Yeah, I'd agree.
In Swan and Danny Johnson, that could work. It's a daring thing to try, because we've never been that daring, have we? And we were.
Sorry, Clive, we were, weren't we, in the last 2 games before we decided to sell Ollie Hawkins, and it was working.
Yeah, but the thing is, for whatever reason, or whether it's money, whether it's family, whether it's both, Hawkins wanted, he wanted to go, because, he's getting to that age now where it's a big bank balance.
I mean, Hawkins and Lapsley, the history now, forget about them.
Yeah.
What we've got is what we've got. I pick up on something, though, Alan. You mentioned you didn't think Bowery played too bad. Well, if that's as good as we can expect from him, he's never going to get in the side, because playing not too bad is not like playing good. I think I like Jordan Bowery as an individual, but I think his best football's behind him now. And he certainly hasn't got that burst of pace that he seemed to have a season or 2 ago. And I just wonder, when we've got a full complement of fit players, he'll be a bench warmer. And probably
it was very frustrating watching Jordan Bowery on Saturday. The situations where you'd want him to be, like you were saying, he's not got that burst of pace, where he's got that bit of space in front of him, and you're just thinking, for sake but Jordan, just drive forward, because Valley Parade is a massive pitch. It's absolutely huge. And these spaces and these opportunities opened up more than once, and he'd get his head down and just run on only. Craig says 4-3-3. Brilliant, helpful, valid. Argument.
On Friday, Craig, what we'll do before the match, we'll all put his team down, what we think. Because I think me and you only got one wrong, didn't we?
We did. On the team thing? Sorry to sort of go off on a tangent. It's just coming to my head. Have you talked about Clough's comments about Flinders and Pym yet?
No, not yet.
Bring it up at some point, and I'll have a rant about it, as you were.
Will do. He's put me off now.
Who's Flims?
You're
making it up, Craig.
Yeah, I think Richard summed it up perfectly. Bowery never once took his man on, and he was always looking to cut back inside and lay the ball off. And I think whilst, yes, I think that is the case on occasions where he did do that, it was the right option. I think somebody that we've not mentioned yet, in Davies Keeler-Dunn, I thought had quite a decent game on Saturday. And I think same with Johnson. As soon as we got that ball through the middle, it looked really dangerous. I think he's a cross between a poacher and a ball playing midfielder from what I've seen previously and what he's sort of like played throughout, sort of like what he's been doing. And he's always going to carry this stigma of he's just another Clough Burton signing, which is funny because he's never played under Clough. Helpful. We'll come back to that later. Craig's just showing his team.
I'm just in case Nigel's watching. I'm just,
Just in case.
It's subliminal marketing.
It's not that subliminal, is it?
Next time, can you do it in black pen?
I've only got blue.
Right.
I'll see if I've got a Sharpie.
Well, I got a little gap in conversation then. Let's pick up on that Flinders versus Pym situation because it's worth talking about. Flinders has done absolutely nothing wrong in the two games he's played. He's in many parts of his game, he's better than Pym, in my opinion. I think his distribution is better.
He is.
And he deserves, and under any natural law of selectivity, he should continue to play. And Pym would have to fight his corner and get back in when the opportunity arose. Furthermore, Flinders is on our payroll. He's contracted to this football club. We have the other guy on loan from Peterborough. Now, maybe that's half the problem. Maybe the conditions of getting him on loan from Peterborough is that he got plenty of match time. I don't know. But to rush a player back who's had a very disconcerting finger injury ahead of a player that's played very, very well and is obviously very keen to continue to play, seems to me mild abuse by Clough.
Nigel Clough's comments honestly left me just thinking, wow. Because for a moment, I did think it was going to do a U-turn on what he'd said last week, which was as soon as Pym's available, he'll be back in. Because he was praising Flinders. He was saying he's a very competent goalkeeper and is a true professional and things like that. And then when the question was asked, so when Pym's back available, does that give you a dilemma? Clough went, no, Pym's back in. Honestly, what confidence does that give Scott Flinders? I thought if it wasn't for Scott Flinders, we would not have got anything from Bradford whatsoever. He was terrific. One of the best goalkeeping displays I think I've seen for a good few years from Scott Flinders on Saturday. Confident, loud, made himself big, made key saves at key moments. But if you're him watching that interview on the way back, you're thinking, what on earth have I got to do now? To be fair, he maybe understands the situation. He might have been brought in the summer and Clough's gone, look, you're going to be number 2. You'll play when there's opportunity. If there's injury or suspension, you'll play in the cup, but that's it. And he might be fine with that. But if you're a player elsewhere in the squad and you're looking at that and you're just thinking, well, I know that the gaffer puts me 4th in line in that particular position. So is that exactly the same thing? Is it a case of when I'm not available, when that player's available, I'm going to be dropped straight away? What motivation does that give a player? If I went into work tomorrow and someone said, right, Craig, the manager's off for a couple of weeks on holiday, you're going to deputise as the marketing manager or whatever, I go, yeah, fine, that's no problem. I would expect to drop back down when they get back. But if I came in to cover someone's maternity leave, for example, or prolonged leave, and I did a good enough, adequate job, maybe an even better job than what they were doing, which is the argument with Flinders, would I be disappointed 6 months or whatever down the line when I'm expected to drop back down after the work and performance I've put in? Damn right I would. And I think Nigel Clough just needs to take a little look at what he said and how he said it, and just be a little bit more considerate to the way he approaches it. Because if Scott Flinders gets dropped, as much as he's probably friends with Pim, I'd be sat on that bench and I'd just be thinking, every time he went up for a cross, I'm thinking, drop it. Every time they go forward, I'm thinking, score. Every time he rushes out of his box, I'm thinking, make a mistake. Because I've played, I want my place back. And you telling me that any sportsman, friendly or otherwise, experienced or otherwise, doesn't have that thought process, you show me one of them, I'll show you a liar. The end.
Yeah. I'm glad we've not had to go through your rant anyway, Craig.
Keeley said in the comments, Flinders has been amazing. As much as I love Pim, I don't think he's got the ability as much as Flinders. I forgot to say Craig. As much as Flinders, as he's more experienced and knows how to work the team. He did amazing with Aikens' assist against Doncaster. Now, it's a very fair point. I think a lot of frustration, personally, with Pim this season is, from me personally, when we've seen him play, is he's very slow. And when he gathers the ball, he's very hesitant to get the ball going and play it short or just send it long. It always takes a little bit of time to just think about it. And I think if Pim plays against Doncaster last weekend and weekend before, for example, maybe that Aikens goal doesn't happen because it's just that hesitation of just taking that bit of time. And I think this whole situation of Pim, Flinders, whatever, who's number one, it's very much, to me, similar to a situation that we had previously a few seasons ago under Dave and Bobby Oleshnik and Conrad Logan. Obviously, Bob. So he's put me off again. So you've got Oleshnik that's gone out injured, and Logan's done a very good job, and albeit when things start to turn a little bit toxic in that toxicity. Happy now? He was still able to perform, and yes, we were still doing well. But then you look at the season after when Oleshnik comes back, he wasn't the same player, and that's the situation when it's something like that with a goalkeeper, whether it's like when you're having to jump or catch or whatever, it could really affect your confidence. If Pim comes back and he comes out to claim a ball, is he going to be really hesitant? The fact like, oh, I've done my finger recently, it's not 100% healed, but I'm still able to play. Is he going to be thinking, right, I'm actually just going to punch this clear because he's not confident in catching it or whatever? He's not the biggest guy in the world, so he can't compete with someone like Ollie Hawkins, for example. So is that mentally going to affect him? Because Flinders has done absolutely nothing wrong, and he kept us in that game on Saturday with the saves that he made.
I suppose the most positive thing we can say, Cam, is that we're blessed to have two good keepers in the team. And it's a matter of opinion, ultimately, who's the best of the two. And our opinion seems to be in favour of Flinders at the moment. But the most important opinion is that of the guy who selects the team. Whatever his reasons, we have to go along with that. And if he brings Pim back after he's recovered from his injury, then not much we can do about that. So yeah, I think we've spoken too much about the goalkeepers. Let's talk about Danny again.
Which one?
Danny Rose.
Yes, let's.
I'll just put a question out there. In your opinion, who would you have marking Mr. Hawkins?
Perch.
He's injured, isn't he? Hawkins is injured.
Yeah, seriously, Craig. Would you have Hewitt been on top of his game? Would you have Kilgour? Would you have Bottle?
You can't put Hewitt on him because that gives Nigel Clough the perfect opportunity to throw him back under the bus. He's not done it for a while and say, well, he will mark his mate. I think Kilgour would be the ideal one to mark him, but I think it'd be an interesting twist. I actually think it'll be more of a midfield battle with Ollie Hawkins because he will be in the position that he plays for Gillingham, which is where he should be playing for us. He will drop a little bit deeper to come and collect, so it will actually be more likely to be Ollie Clark or George.
Do you think
Maris
he'll be playing though, Craig? Do you think he'll be playing because he got taken off injured, didn't he, in the last game?
Oh, did he? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the extent of the injury was, but he was.
It could be really interesting because obviously Hawkins and Lapsley will be telling Gillingham all about the way that Mansell play or the way that he thinks will play, and could Nigel throw a spanner in the works? Dare I ask?
I don't know how he could do that because there can't be a player who's played under Clough has any idea how we play from one game to the next. Listen, I'm looking forward to the Gillingham game. I think it'll be a really good test. They are on an upward surge because of a regeneration of their team by some new players, and they need points desperately. And we, I think, are capable of turning anybody over. And I think we should use the bonus of a draw at Bradford as a launch pad to take someone's pants down. And I think it's got to be Gillingham.
Thank God he said a team and not a Nate and not a bloke.
It'd be nice to see Macca back, Mr. McDonald.
Oh yeah, of course.
He's playing well.
He's there, yeah.
He's had a resurgence, hasn't he? Again, it's funny what happens when you get that sort of winning mentality in your team, isn't it?
You're another one I liked at Mansfield.
Well, he's the only remaining player of Evans's time at Priesthill Stadium, isn't he?
Mm.
Yeah. Just a quick one on Ollie Hawkins. They've said so I hope he's okay for this week. That's all they've said on him currently. So
he'll be playing, man.
Yeah.
Well,
just a quick.
Gillingham have probably got a better way of dealing with injured players. They probably get them fit and available within a week, whereas we do it within 3 months.
Very true.
I think my way's better. You say to the player that's injured, get up and get on with it.
Just one last quick thing before we move on to podcast predictions for this week. I just want to bring up this comment. Let's see. This comment from Martin said, just watch the Johnson interview, mentions playoffs. Why not automatics?
Do you really need to ask that question?
I think it's a very interesting one because we're not far from where we need to be. But you look at the games that we've got. We've got a very sort of...
Are you for real?
It's
have
just
have you watched us play?
Yeah, whatever. But it's just throwing that comment out there.
You get 3 wins on the trot, you're up there chasing after the automatics, aren't you? Simple as that.
Reeling him in. Look, there's a reason that I titled this show this week, Euphoria, let it not be a comfort blanket or whatever the bloody hell I called it in the end. And that's the fact that I say 89 minutes, most people will probably disagree and probably say 70. We were awful at Bradford. And if we continue to play like that for the remainder of the season, we will not get anywhere near the playoffs, let alone a top 3 push. We got off the hook by a superb goalkeeping performance. We gave away a stupid soft goal because we didn't close down the ball, and we switched off from the set piece, which you should never do. We allowed Andy Cook the easiest goal that he'll ever score in his career, and I still cannot see how we are getting to find a groove. It seems to be 1 step forward, 3 steps back every single week. Call me a killjoy, call me doubly pessimistic, whatever. It's just not. It's just not clicking for me. It's just not clicking for me.
Craig,
it will.
Glass half full.
4-3-3, and we'll get up there.
The thing is, irrespective, I totally agree with what you're saying about the performances and whatever. But whether we like it or not, we're still 6th. And points don't lie. We're not the best team in the world. We're not the worst team in the world, but we're still 6th. We can improve on that.
To be fair, I do agree with Richard. If we play like we did in the second half, we will move up the table. But there's a reason we played like we did in the second half, because we were chasing the bloody game again. we did not come out on the front foot. We did not come out and try and play. We're always kicking when we're having to chase the game. A successful team cannot get game promotion by always chasing the tails and always trying to get back into the game. Fact.
I think Danny Johnson was right in suggesting that we have a chance in the playoffs because because it's realistic. I think it's slightly unrealistic to have any expectation of automatics. That's not me being negative. That's just me being objective. And I think, we've got there's two good teams in the division that aren't likely to slip up badly enough to give us their slot. So there's a bunch of us fighting potentially over the third spot.
And I think you've got to look the other end as well. I think there's a lot of teams as well all vying for a playoff spot this season. It's very tight in and around there. Jay says I'm negative. Maybe I'm just putting it across in a negative form, mainly for entertainment purposes, really. But I think the fact Pessimistic Craig's probably a little bit better than negative Craig. I disagree with negative. It's pessimism more than anything else because we're burnt by where we were, last season and everything that happened. Going back to the point about what Johnson said in his interview about saying the playoffs, because that is the realistic aim at the moment. We will our aim is to try and finish 7th, and whatever happens after that happens. If we get to a point where we can chase the top 3 in a month or a month and a half, 2 months, then great. But right now, let's continue to just try and stay in the playoffs.
I think what we need to do as fans is to hope that we can finish the season like Bristol Rovers did last year, because they came from very much nowhere to get automatically promoted at the expense of what was one of the best teams in the league at the time.
Is there a team there that's going to happily ship 7 goals and possibly accept some brown envelopes?
You're being too particular, Craig. It doesn't necessarily need somebody with 7 goals. No, you're being obtuse, Craig Priest.
That's a new one.
I've heard that one before.
Jeez.
I made my point. Ridicule me if you want, but I've made my point. If we got some back-to-back wins, anything could happen. It's not that likely, to be fair, to pick up on Craig's point. We're just not reliably good enough when we need to be at the moment.
Clive said exactly what I was saying, but in a more clear and concise way. He's not trying to stir up the debate and be an arse like I am.
You, an arse?
Anyway, moving on. We've not got long left, so we'll head off and do into podcast prediction land. Craig, have you got a pen and paper?
Hang on, I'm not the host. I'm the guest today. It should be you writing this down, but no, I have, and I will write it down as per. Off you go.
Just for that, we'll start with you first.
Oh, will we?
Yeah, less time to think about it. Go on.
Cam's in charge.
I don't need. That is also true. I don't really need to think about it. 1-0 win. 17th minute.
We'll go with. We'll go with Clive next.
3-0 win. 12 minutes.
Confident. Alan?
I'm going to go 2-1 win. I think it'll be quite a close game. 25 minutes, 2-1 win.
I think I'm with Alan on this one. I think 2-1 and 20th minute.
2-1's a safe bet. I'm not
playing
safe.
We don't keep clean sheets at home.
Yeah, but we've got Scott Flinders in goal, hopefully. I don't think Pim will be available for the weekend. Flinders will continue and get the clean sheet he absolutely rightly deserves. We'll get Nick, we'll get Nathan's predictions later in the week, by the way, and whack them on our social media. You know what to do.
Brilliant.
Oh, we've also got a game in the week as well, haven't we? It's
I was thinking,
Carlisle.
I was looking.
I don't know whether
Carlisle. I think that's 1-0, 28 minutes.
I don't know whether we'll get a podcast in before then, so let's go with early Carlisle predictions as well. Go on then, Clive. What were you saying?
1-0, 28.
Alan?
I'll go 1-0 win. 32.
Cam?
Oh, 1-1 draw.
They've had a bit of a wobble, haven't they?
Goal?
38th minute.
I will go with a 2-1 defeat.
No.
3rd minute.
You're going to be a bag of shit on the bus, aren't you?
I am, you're right. As always, if you want to get involved with... Why am I saying this?
Oh, as ever, if you want to get involved in podcast predictions, get on the social medias, follow the link. And remember, you've got to get your prediction how long before kick-off, Craig?
No later than 1 hour and 1 minute. Use the link in the description. Comments in the comments, guesses in the comments and all that won't count.
And, of course, if you want to travel to Carlisle with the SSA, I don't know what the departure time is because it's not on their socials. Craig, do you know?
Give me a minute and I'll find out. Alan, give me the number.
What's the number?
07967 689 597.
And that number again, thank you, Alan.
Craig's looking for the number. 07967 689 597.
And coaches from One Call Stadium depart at 2:30 on Valentine's Day. Roses are red, violets are blue. Come on the SSA and we'll have a quiz for you.
Oh.
Who's writing the ditties now? Gee, not bad.
There was a young man from Gosham who took out his to wash him. His wife said, "Jack, if you don't put them back, I'll stand on there and squash him."
False teeth, weren't they?
Oh, gee, what?
You had enough now, Cam.
Oh, who let him back in? Oh, wait, me.
Mary had a little lamb. She kept it in a bucket. But every time she let it out, the bulldog tried to kiss it.
Come on, Cam, get us out of this, will you?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Right, so that's unfortunately all we've got time for this week. Like Craig said, it most likely we won't have a podcast before Carlisle. So don't forget, if you want to go to Carlisle, get to the SSA. I'm sure the socials will be updated shortly. Craig, hint, hint.
Don't give up your day, those guys. We've only got 29 months left.
433. That's going to be a graphic next week. It's just going to say 433. No context, just 433. Oh, brilliant.
Put it down, Craig, for goodness sake.
All right, before I lose,
just need a black Sharpie, so we can actually read what.
Cam, will you put him in detention, please? He's been very naughty.
Before you do, thank you, Cam, for stepping in at the 11th hour.
Yes.
And my team is a 4-3-3. Flinders, Hewitt, Kilgour, Harbottle, Wallace, Clark, Maris, Quinn, Swan, Akins, Keeler, Dunn. See you next week.
It's a winner.
And he's gone. Right,
so well done, Cam.
That's all we've got for, unfortunately. Before I lose the rest of my brain cells that I've got left, because it's been traumatic. My thanks go to Alan Wilson and Clive Parkin for getting involved, and Mr. Craig Priest. I'm going to add him back so he can say bye to everyone.
Yeah, bye. Remember to actually play the outro on this one. I don't think. Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. Thanks as ever for getting involved with the Mansfield Matters podcast. Make sure you interact with us all throughout the week on social media at MTFC Matters on Twitter and on the old Facebook as well. Also, don't forget to get involved with podcast predictions as Ollie Hawkins and George Lapsley come home. Will it be a case of old faces haunting us once again, or can the Stags get all 3 points and build on that euphoria from the 90th minute at Bradford? There's only one way to find out. We'll talk about all of that next week. Make sure you follow us on social media to find out when we're going to be live. Again, thanks for listening, and thanks to the Mansfield Matters panel as well for getting involved in tonight's show. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Good night.